Alright guys, welcome back. In this video, we'll be learning how to make asynchronous HTTP request using a library known as aiohttp. But why is exactly making asynchronous request or multiple asynchronous HTTP requests is actually important. But before we even learn that, for the people who don't know about web development, who don't know what a request and a response is, just to kind of give you an idea, whenever you type into your browser www.google.com and press enter, what your browser does is it tells the Google server, hey bro, I want to see the website. That is known as a request. Your browser sends a request to Google servers. And when the Google servers receive that request, they're like, all right, bet, because you requested so peacefully, what I'm going to do is I'm going to send you back some code of my website and some images, whatever you want, and you can show it on your browser on your front end. And that is known as a response. So whatever we send from a browser to the Google servers is known as a request, and what the Google servers send us back is known as a response. So we are basically talking to the Google servers, a browser are talking to the Google servers. So that is basically the format of request and a response. So for example, we have a website over here known as pokeapi.co. It's basically an API, and what it does is it gives us the Pokemon names, their abilities, etc. If you don't know what is a Pokemon, I can't do anything to help you. So what it basically does is it's an API, and when we send a request to give us the data about a Pokemon, it sends us a response back. So for example, we can copy it over here and we can paste it in a browser, this API request, and when we press enter, we receive a response. So for example, you can see that the name of the Pokemon is Ditto and all the abilities and everything is received over here. Now what you can also do is just type in, this is just the basics of Pokemon API. You can type in 1 over here and it will give us the first Pokemon in that database. For example, the first Pokemon in the API database is named as Bulbasaur. So this is a response, and when we press enter on this API on our keyboard, this is a request. And what you see on the URL is this is a request URL. Now what exactly is the benefit of using asynchronous HTTP request? So for example, in our synchronous example, let's say we are seeing the name of a Pokemon. We send a request on our browser, hey, we want to see the name of the Pokemon, and it sends us the response Bulbasaur back. And then let's say we want to send a second request, hey, show me the name of the second Pokemon, and it sends us the response back that, hey, it's Pikachu or something. So you can see that it is happening very sequentially. It first sends a request, then waits for the response to come back, and only then it sends a second request. So there's a lot of time wasted in between. What if we could just send the requests one by one, fire all the requests together, and then receive the responses as they come in? That will save us a lot of time. And that is exactly what happens in asynchronous programming. It sends the first request, and then it sends the second request, the third request, and so on. And then in the background, it keeps receiving the responses. So we don't actually have to wait for the responses to come in to send requests, and that saves us the time. So let's actually see an example of a synchronous code, and then we'll convert it into an asynchronous code. To do a simple request in synchronous code, what we need is, first of all, we need a library known as request. So we're going to write that, and make sure you pip install it if you haven't installed it already. So what you can do over here, you can just run it over here, and if it's not there, you can just write in pip install and then request, and this will install the library in your Python. I've already installed it, so I'm not gonna do that. After that, we need to calculate the speed of execution of a program. So we are just going to import our time module 2, and we're just going to write start underscore time equals to the current time, and then we are also going to get the end time. So we're just going to write end time equals to time.time, and this will give us the time our program has ended. Then to calculate the speed of execution, let's just print this out. Let's say execution in seconds, and let's do subtract of end time minus start time. So we are just going to write end time, and we are going to subtract it from our start time, and this will give us the speed of execution. Now how exactly do you make a request? To do that, first we need the request URL. So in our example, our request URL is pokeapi.co, and basically this whole link. So what we can do is we can just copy this and paste it inside our code. We'll come over here, and our URL is equals to, it's a string, so we're just going to paste that. And now to see different Pokemons, we are just going to change the number. So for example, over here, we can change the number to 2, and then this will give us the second Pokemon. So let's go back to our code, and what we can do instead of this 1 over here is change this to plus, and we want to convert it into a string, and let's just write a number. So basically what we want is a number. So for right now, what we can just do is actually go with 1, because we are just seeing a very simple example. And then to send a request, what we're going to do is we're going to create a variable called response and resp, whatever you want to call it, doesn't matter. And then we're going to use our request library to get the data from our URL. So we're just going to type in URL. So this is the code, or this is the line that basically sends a request, and then it stores the response of this request inside this response variable. So we are sending a request, and so for example, we are sending the request to google.com and we are receiving the response inside the response variable. So for example, right now what we can do is we can just print whether we are receiving a proper response or not. We can just type in response.status code. So if we receive the 200 response, that means our code is working. Not exactly that a code is working, but this URL is working. But if we receive some other code, for example, if we type in like some random URL, it will give us a status code of 404 or page not found, which you obviously have seen before, I'm pretty sure. So for example, if we run this right now, you can see that we received our 200 code, that is our website is working properly. Our URL is working properly. And now to receive the JSON response, so for example, if we go back over here, you can see that this is a JSON response. So we actually need to decode this JSON response and get the name of our Pokemon. That is our aim. And to get a JSON response, what we can do is we can just create a new variable, and this will store all the data of the Pokemon that we are seeing on that page. And we are going to take that response that we just received, and we only want the JSON part. So we are just going to write .json, and this will, let's just print it out and see what it actually gives us, so that we are pretty clear about what we are getting. So let's just run our Pokemon and let's execute this and see what it gives us. So you can see that it basically exactly gives us the same thing that we see on that page. If you scroll above, somewhere over here is the name of a Pokemon, I'm not sure where. But yeah, it's exactly the same thing. So now what we can do is to extract the name of the Pokemon, we can just put in square brackets and write the name over here. So for example, if we go to our JSON response, you can see that behind Ivysaur, or our name of a Pokemon, we have this key of name, and the value name is Ivysaur, that is the name of our Pokemon. So we need the name of our key, which in this case is just name. So let's go back, and we have input our name over here. So now if we run it, we will receive the first name of our Pokemon, that is the Bulbasaur. Now what we want to do is receive the name of the first 150 original Pokemon names. So for that, we are going to use a for loop. So we are just going to write for I in range, and inside that we are going to go from 1 to 151 for our original Pokemons, and then all this needs to be properly spaced out. And then instead of this 1, we are going to write plus, and we are going to convert it to a string, and we're going to write I. So every time this loops, we are going to get the name of our first Pokemon, and then we are going to get the name of the second Pokemon and third Pokemon, and so on. So now let's just run this and see how much time it takes. And I'm just going to skip to the part after it ends. As you can see, our code completed in 82.09 seconds. So I'm just going to copy that. And let me actually see if I can copy it over here properly. If not, we are just gonna manually write it. And make sure that you have the end time at the end of the program. By mistake, I had it at the starting, so it was not calculating the speed of execution. So make sure you have it at the end of your code. And we're just gonna write a comment over here, and let's say our just for our memory, we are gonna write in that the execution in seconds was 82 seconds. And let's try to speed it up and lower down the speed of execution. So what we are going to do is we are going to do the same thing asynchronously using our aiohttp library. So for that, first you need to install it, and make sure that you're using, at the current time of this recording of this video, aiohttp doesn't support the latest version of Python, that is 3.12, that 3.12. So make sure that you're using 3.11 or less, and it's between 3.7 and 3.11 basically. So you're making so make sure you are using those versions. Currently I'm using 3.9. So yeah, you can just basically pip install that. So first of all, I've already installed it, so I'm just going to write aio.http just aio.http, and then we also need the essential library, so we're just going to write that. And we also need to calculate the time of execution. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to copy and paste this so that I don't have to write all that code again. I'm going to paste that and also paste this at the bottom so that we know what is the speed of our execution. And then let's start with creating a very simple coroutine, just like we have learned in all of these videos. And we're just going to call this coroutine main, keep it simple. And now let's start with actually using the aiohttp library. So first of all, what we are going to do is, let me just write it out, then I'm going to explain it. Async with and then aiohttp library, we are going to use that, and we are going to create a client session over here. So we are just going to write client session, and we are going to store all of this stuff inside a variable known as session. Let's just call it session. And let's see what we are doing over here. So what this async with is basically a context manager. It is used for creating asynchronous context managers. It's very complicated stuff. We don't need to like really worry about it, but basically in short, it makes sure that the resources are properly handled. So whatever AI HTTP resources are there, it makes sure that they are properly released and acquired, and it just makes sure everything goes on smoothly. And this client session is basically a class of AI HTTP, and it helps us send and receive requests, and it can even send like hundreds of requests at the same time asynchronously or concurrently, whatever you want to say. And then we are storing all of this inside this variable, whatever you're going to call it, called session, so that every time we don't have to write aiohttp.client session. And now what we want to do is get the names of the 151 Pokemons or the 150 Pokemons, just like we did over here. So I'm just going to copy a couple of lines from here, just yoink it and paste it inside our code, and let's make sure that it's properly indented. And we have our URL, we have our for loop. And now how do we send a request? In aiohttp library, we send a request a little bit differently. So what we can do is we can also use the async with keyword over here. So I'm just going to copy that, paste it over here, and this time we are going to write session that we have created previously on this line. We are going to use that, and we are going to write session.get, and inside that we need our URL. So I'm just going to write that, and we are going to store the response of this get request in our variable of response, just like we did in our synchronous program. This was our way to get a request in the synchronous program, request.get. It's kind of similar. Over here we basically use session.get to get the request, and over here we store the result in the variable of response, and we are doing the same thing over here. And we're also using the async with keyword over here, and this basically does the same thing. It creates an asynchronous context manager, and what it does is that whenever it gets the URL, it makes sure that the response that we get is properly acquired and released, but you don't need to worry too much about it. First thing you need to know is that whenever you use aiohttp library, whenever you want to send a request, first of all you need to create this client session, and then when you want to send a request, you are going to use the async with again. And the way to get a request, the way to send a request is session.get, and inside that it requires a URL, and then you can store the response inside the response variable. Now let's make sure that everything is properly indented, and now what we can do is that we have to write an await response.json. So we're just going to write that. So what this await basically does is it tells the program to continue running while it waits for the JSON result in the background, so that we don't have to wait for the response. We can just fire off one request after another. So let's actually run this and see how it looks. And we are going to run this, and it executed in 0.0 seconds. So let's actually see what went wrong. Did we not execute our coroutine? Yes, we haven't executed our coroutine. So what we are going to do is, how do we execute a coroutine? You create an event loop. We are just going to write .run main over here, and now let's run this and see how it works. So it's gonna give us, and you can already see that the speed of getting the responses is pretty fast. So I'm just gonna skip to the part where I already get all of the responses, and we have finally gotten all of the responses, and the speed of execution in this case was just 24 seconds. So you can already see that the speed of execution is pretty fast. In your PC it might be a little bit different, but don't worry too much about it. Just that it's a little bit faster than our main.slow or our synchronous program. And now it's giving us this error. You can just ignore it. And what you can also do is that basically what happens is that whenever you run aiohttp library with this asyncio.run, it gives us an error on Windows for some reason. I have no idea why it does that. But what you can do is, before event that, we can set something known as event loop policy for Windows. This is just for Windows, and it won't give us an error. And make sure you actually add that, because in the future videos we might actually use it. So you can just copy and paste it somewhere if you are getting an error. Basically, I'm just going to add actually a comment over here too, that we need to set this, because yeah, on some reason the Windows doesn't interact with aiohttp properly. Now let's go through this program once more to figure out that, make sure that we didn't miss anything. So what happened over here is that first of all we have our main coroutine, and inside that we use this async with to create a context manager, an asynchronous contact manager. It just basically makes sure that the responses and it's properly handled and acquired and released properly. And then we created this client session, and client session is basically a class provided by the AI HTTP library to manage HTTP requests and responses, and we stored it in this variable called session. And then because we want to get the names of the first 150 Pokemons, we have our URL over here that loops through it. We created another async with to make sure that whatever request we are sending is properly handled, and we send our get request and we got the response in this response variable, and whatever JSON that we got, it is awaited. What does that mean? Await basically tells the program to continue running while it waits for the JSON result in the background. And then we finally printed out our Pokemon name, and sometimes it gives us an error in Windows only because our AI HTTP doesn't interact with async.run properly. That's why you need to set up policy. And yeah, so when we run our program, it's actually faster, a lot faster. So let me actually write this down. So in this case, our speed of execution was 82 seconds. In this case, our speed of execution was about 24 seconds. I don't really remember exactly. So yeah, this is our asynchronous programming, but there's also a way to make it even faster. What if you could send 150 requests in just 2 seconds? So yeah, we are going to learn about that in the next video, and I'll see you over there.